All right, welcome into the Dirty Pocket, and it is indeed dirty this week. We have had a lot of news out of the NFL. I am joined by my partner in crime, the scout, Mr. Daniel Kelly, writer for Sports Illustrated, Lions, Jets, and new writer for Draft Fuel. How are you, my friend, on this Wednesday night?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm doing even better now because Samantha bet me, my wife bet me this week. She bet me that you would have $5 that you would be wearing a Rams hat for this interview. So I didn't
And
say anything. I didn't tip you off, but I just won $5 because of you, Stacy. So thank you.
congratulations, Samantha. Bad call. Got a haircut today. Was scrambling to get to this podcast. So, sorry,
Wow.
Samantha, but what do you expect from a Cowboys fan? Oh, sorry. Samantha, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Geez.
All
Yeah.
love.
You still
All
want
love.
me on this show, don't you?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, let's make things right then. Yeah.
And I mean, your household continues to be such a fascinating dynamic. A Washington football team guy and a Dallas Cowboy fan. I mean, it's as good as it gets.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's an interesting dynamic. As we tell people all the time when we go to sports bars, I'm dressed up in my Washington gear. She's dressed up. Of course, I wear the old throwback stuff like Dexter Manley and that type of thing. She's wearing her Cowboy stuff. And people are being like, they look at us holding hands walking down the street and they're like, and so how does this work?
I asked you that when I met you. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And we just tell people it's true love, which it is. So it's pretty cool.
There you go. Love knows no boundaries.
That's right. That's
very nice. Well, hey, it has been a crazy week. Before we start, what are we drinking? Out there in Key West, Florida?
Well, this is interesting tonight because this is a little bit more of a mystery drink. Water. I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
The water.
Sorry, man.
It's either that or vodka. We can't tell, but
can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a Captain Tony's Saloon cup, which is a famous bar down here in Key West, Florida. Now, don't get any wrong ideas. It's not filled with an alcoholic beverage right now, but it does have Arizona sweet tea in it that we picked up at the convenience store tonight. So this is a plug for Arizona sweet tea. It's so, I mean, and you can kind of see the ad right now, right? You can say Arizona sweet tea. It just makes husbands who love football even sweeter.
Oh God. Oh wow. Okay,
I'm practicing. That's off the cuff. That's an audible. I mean, that's off the cuff. I mean, no earpieces, no one feeding me information. No teleprompter in front of my face. I mean, this is just impromptu. I mean, you know how it goes.
I love it, man. I love it. I swear, Pepsi, Coke get more pull from you, including Arizona sweet tea, than anybody on the internet. So come on, you guys, hit us up.
Let's be
sponsor friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, man. This has been a crazy week and not a normal week as we're getting closer to that Super Bowl victory.
Not a normal week because Rams. Why? Why is it not a normal week, Stacey? Why?
It seems there's a really big game Sunday that I'm very excited for. We'll get to that briefly, but
yes, I'm sure we will.
Let's talk about the rest of this stuff in the dirty pocket from this week, because the NFL, we're not going to get into the Washington Commanders situation. We're not going to get into the Brian Flores situation, Deshaun Watson. Scrape it off the table. Let's talk about some other fun stuff. Let's talk about what's going on in Arizona. If you're a Cardinals fan right now, how is it time to hit the panic button? Kyler Murray, right after going to the Pro Bowl, decides to scrub his social media account of all things Arizona Cardinals. The only pictures on there are of him with the Green Bay coaching staff. It seems there's a quarterback situation in Green Bay as well. What do you make of this, Scout Kelly, and this whole situation with Kyler Murray? Like, this is, and by the way, if this doesn't show our age on this podcast, this is how athletes deal with this stuff now. They immediately go to Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok and start scrubbing their employer. It's a little different from the old school players, a little different. What do you make of this situation in Arizona? Is this about to fall apart on Cliff Kingsbury?
Well, it certainly doesn't look too good. I mean, that's a very bold move. I mean, we're talking about showing our age with the social media. The social media has become almost like a part of a person's identity online. And so when you go ahead and I mean, like when you see a relationship, right, and people break up, like immediately, like the other person disappears, and like the relationship status changes, and like all of a sudden it's like all the friends are gone, like they used to be mutual friends, they're all suddenly gone, so nobody can stalk anybody's page or anything like so it's a very significant thing when a player the magnitude of a Kyler Murray would go ahead and scrub the social media deliberately and just erase all like acknowledgement of the Arizona Cardinals. Should the Cardinals be concerned? Absolutely, they should be concerned. So I don't know what's all involved here as far as we don't really know. Is Paul Harvey would, for those of us who know Paul Harvey, right?
Paul Harvey.
We don't really know the rest of the story here. But the story will come out in the, I think, in the days and the weeks ahead that are coming ahead. There's some thought out there that, maybe, Kyler Murray is, maybe he still has baseball in his blood. Do I dare say? Is it possible he has another team in mind? One thing I will say, and this is something you won't hear anywhere else in America. So this is a time where you take that hand, you touch that dial, you turn it up. Because nobody will talk like this. I don't care who it is. Okay. Here we go. Right. Have your hand on that, where you can cut the feed button there, Stacy. No, but here's the situation. I'm not going to say anything too crazy here. Okay. I'm not tonight. I mean, I'm drinking sweet tea. I mean, come on. But here's the thing. I am noticing a developing pattern and trend in the National Football League that's very disturbing to me. And this is what the trend is. I don't want to play here anymore, so I'm not going to. And these players are coming out. I mean, I really started noticing it with Trent Williams, the big offensive tackle, left tackle that played in Washington back in 2019. Suddenly, everything just kind of blew up. Now, I interviewed in Washington in 2019, so this is near and dear to my heart because this whole situation maybe cost me a job on Washington. This whole situation came out with Trent Williams, who everyone reveres at left tackle in San Francisco. This guy, all of a sudden, he did have a serious medical condition I don't want to make light of. But all of a sudden, Washington didn't handle the situation right according to Trent Williams' camp. His helmet didn't fit. He had a brain tumor. Different things were happening. They didn't pay close enough attention to it. And the big sticking point of that situation, Stacey, was his helmet did not supposedly fit onto his head. Well, guess what, folks? His helmet fits just fine in San Francisco a few months later. I mean, hey, I mean, that's as my dad would say, I was born at night, but not last night. So that was the first, he kind of like forced his way out of Washington. That was the final, straw that broke the proverbial camel's back in Washington with team president at that time, Bruce Allen. They kind of, played, kind of played the blame game with him, fired him on Black Monday, which cost me my job out there because I wasn't going to get a job in coaching or scouting from all sounds of it from Mr. Allen. So that happened, right? Now we see the whole thing with Aaron Rodgers, and he's becoming all vocal. I'm not going to get too much into this because you're laughing already because I mean, this Aaron Rodgers thing. I mean, I can go off the tracks.
Show every week.
I can go off the tracks with Aaron Rodgers real fast. Okay, but he's more vocal. Maybe he's trying to force his way out of Green Bay. Is he going to Denver? Blah blah blah. Is he going to Mars? Who knows? Okay. So then we now have, last year with Calvin Ridley, I wrote about this for SI Jets, right? Okay, so this is the star receiver. Julio Jones leaves, obviously, gets traded to Tennessee. Calvin Ridley from Alabama steps in. He's the number one guy, really didn't take to the role at all. He's not really a number one receiver in the NFL. Struggled, quite a bit. Through the first 4 or 5 games. Atlanta was having a dismal start of the season. And all of a sudden he just, again, I'm not making light of what he said because of course we're not making light of mental health, right? But he he just checked out. He checked out and said, "Hey, I got to leave. I'm done with this. Goodbye." And so he left the Falcons, and now all of a sudden, there's talk about he might be traded. He suddenly liked on Twitter. We go back to social media with Kyler Murray. He liked the comment Calvin Ridley did that some fan wrote. I hope Calvin Ridley ends up with the Miami Dolphins. Ridley actually liked the comment. Then he unliked it once they found out he liked it because it was causing more problems. But again, here's a situation where a player is he's tired of being with the Falcons. So now, and there's a big part of the fan base, Falcons Nation out there. If you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. Calvin Ridley's a very sore spot with the Falcons Nation. There's a large part of that fan contingency, from what I read online, that believes that he's just trying to force his way out of the Falcons with this whole thing. I'm not touching that personally. I don't know either way, for the record. But as we can see now, we see this situation with Kyler Murray. So I say all that to say this. Are we going to be entering into an NFL where all of a sudden players just wake up one day and roll the wrong way off the bed and just say, you know what, I'm done playing in Detroit. Hey, I'm done with Jacksonville. I've had it with this situation. We're not winning anything. Because look what happened. Look what happened. This is another situation. OBJ, your guy with the Rams, right? He basically gets cut. He goes from the Cleveland Browns, which didn't make the playoffs or do anything this year. Now he's playing in the Super Bowl. Is this a new way that players are forcing their way off teams that are not contenders, who have losing records, or they're not getting out of the deal what they want to get out of it, so they could go sign somewhere else?
Yeah. I mean, look, there's no question this is a trend. And you gave some great examples going back a couple different seasons now. I mean, this is a trend. This is the way to get a team's attention. And folks, this isn't normal. I mean, we're talking multi-millions of dollars on the line in these contracts. Kyler Murray, they still have him under contract for 2 more years. He's set to make $11.4 million next year. And by the way, by top 10 QB standards, that's chump change. The top 10 QBs are making in upwards of $30 million a year. So
kind of like us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Clearly, man. Clearly, I do this for fun. I do, actually. It's absolutely nuts that I'm going to get into a major business transaction, or like you said, I just don't like the team colors anymore. I'm out. And it's really troubling. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald came out today in reference to Kyler Murray and said, look, I hope it all works out. Larry's always plays him in all the road. He's pure class, loves a Cardinal, lifelong Cardinal. But it appears, and particularly in Murray's case, that something's about to blow up. There aren't many players that can say, I was also drafted very high by the Oakland A's. He still wears their hat in all kinds of photos when he's playing football. I think I'll just go play baseball now. This last season, he got beat up. That Rams game, they beat him up, and he took a lot of blame for that game. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a chance, and this is going to segue into another subject for us on this show this week, it really stabs at the integrity of the game itself. Look, I don't think any of us are naive enough to think every single guy just loves football. But like you said, these young guys now are multimillionaires by 23, and they can just decide, I don't like that guy's hairdo. I'm out. And this is what we get. It's crazy. And let me ask you this. Do you think Kyler Murray forces his way off the Cardinals, or possibly just goes and plays baseball?
It's very possible. I mean, for him to scrub his social media, there's some major problems. And I also go back into the college game a little bit here, Stacey, because, over the last couple of seasons, we've seen this whole transfer portal thing just whip into a frenzy. Yeah. And it's the same concept in the NFL, where I'm tired of playing for a team. I'm going to go play somewhere else. This really, 4 or 5 players now we've hit on this show. It's very possible. To your point about Kyler Murray, anything is very possible here at this point, what's going to happen. And if that happens, that's going to set the Cardinals back light years, because, they already had that failed Josh Rosen mess they already overcame in the first round. Now they get Murray. And these type of quarterbacks do not grow on trees. These guys that can step in and play like this. And Murray's actually a pretty good quarterback that's done a nice job for the Cardinals. And so for if he forces his way out of that situation, it's going to be a mess in Arizona.
God, so let's hover there for a minute. Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. And look, my bias is not showing because it's really not the case. It was absurd that he made the Pro Bowl over Matthew Stafford. Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
It's absurd, folks. Come on. Nonetheless, he would have made it anyway because Stafford's playing in the Super Bowl, probably would have been an alternate and played anyway.
Right.
But here's a guy that goes to the Pro Bowl, but there's a lot of questions surrounding his size. We're going to have that conversation again. He loves baseball. That was his first love. He's not a big guy. The Rams and several other
I've seen the memes.
Yeah, you've seen the memes. I mean, is this a case of a guy that wants to stay in football and get traded, or a guy that just wants out? And let me ask you that. In Kyler Murray's case, any idea on trade destinations? I mean, the Buccaneers need a quarterback. The Eagles might be willing to, ship Jalen Hurts off and have a swap there. The Packers may have a situation. His only 2 pictures literally on his Instagram are with, I think, Nathaniel Hackett of the Packers. It's like, oh boy, like you said, it's almost chaos now.
It is. As far as trade destinations, to your point, I don't know, but I will tell you this. That my editor at SI Lions ran a story about Kyler Murray, possibly should the Lions be interested in him. That just blew up from what I've seen. That just blew up. I mean, they had like 300-400 shares with like a few hours.
Fans wanting that. They were positive. They wanted.
Well, they just whipped the thing into a frenzy. Wow. I mean, here's the situation. I mean, when I wrote my first article for SI Detroit Lions on Malik Willis back in like the beginning of October, that was probably one of my most successfully read articles I've ever written. I mean, these fans in Detroit are absolutely starving for a good quarterback. So anything, possibility of a Kyler Murray going there, I doubt that. You're not going to wait. You're not going to make your way out of Arizona to get yourself to Detroit probably. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation is interesting. If Aaron Rodgers does leave Green Bay, you got to look at that fact. He kept that picture up there you talked about with the Packers. You got to look at that. Who knows what happens here with Kyler Murray? But what I will say is that this is something the NFL office, the headquarters in New York City. I've been down to the office before myself down at Park Avenue. I've actually been to the commissioner's office once too. That's another story that I'll say for a different time. So people keep watching. But it's like the Oval Office, only it's in a big building in New York with big football. Absolutely. But I've also been in the instant replay office in the Park Avenue office as well. But here's the thing: is that the NFL office is going to really need to pay attention to this and really mitigate this type of situation, because guess what? The entire NFL system, the balance of powers to be, is set up through the draft. The competitive balance is set up through the salary cap, right? It's also set up through the draft to try to keep things fair and equitable amongst all franchises, with the worst team picking first and so forth. It's set up that way with the claiming order when a player gets cut, that the worst team at that time gets first dibs on a player. If this is a creative way by players and their agents to try to upset and offset that competitive balance structure that's in the league, this could blow open very quickly. And guess what? We live in such an age of sensitivity to so many things that offend so many people that when a play, I mean, anything offends anybody, right? I mean, it's seriously, true. I mean, yeah, airplanes may be offended at this hat, right? Okay. Yeah. So, but check this out, right? Check this out. It is that it all of a sudden now, if players start coming out one after another, giving some type of political or some other type of reason why they want out of situations, you may have guys across the league saying, hey, You may have all sorts of guys on the worst teams in the league, like like the Detroits and the Jacksonvilles and these different teams that are struggling right now. You may all of a sudden have a guy come out like Trevor Lawrence or somebody that says, "Hey, I'm having a bad hair day. I really feel. Hey, I'm having a bad hair day. I got my
nice hair.
Oh yeah, I got my hair messed up too many times this season. I want to go to maybe where maybe I could have a better like haircut. Maybe I want to go to Seattle. But if you start getting in all seriousness, if you get players starting to do this on a wholesale basis, can you imagine the mess that would be, Stacey?
Oh, well, look, we don't have to imagine. Look at the NBA. Look at college football, to your point about the transfer portal right now. You get the feeling that chaos is starting to reign. And with these franchises that aren't serious about bringing championships, and there are franchises, people, that aren't serious about winning championships. They're serious about making money. That's very obvious. You definitely get the feeling chaos is about to break. On the Lions with Kyler Murray, I just see Kyler Murray saying, no, thanks. I'm going to go play baseball for the Oakland A's. I mean, on the Lions, folks, you had a great quarterback for 13 years. You really did, and nothing happened. So it's just going to shake out very interesting in this offseason with Kyler Murray. I personally, instead of turning the whole show about him, I think that he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's a championship quarterback.
Right.
I do think his size has limitations. I'm sorry, I do. I've seen it in person. So very interesting news. So segueing from that subject into something that you're knee deep on right now, probably nose deep on, with the NFL draft forthcoming. And it really plays on this subject of Kyler Murray and some of the other examples you brought out. How important is it to love the game? And whether you're Kyler Murray and you love baseball more, or a litany of other players that I could seriously reel off and will in this conversation, how important is it to love the game as you're looking at prospects now coming in the draft based on your experience in the Parcells Belichick system? How important, seeing what chaos is happening, not just here, but as you said, in college. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit himself said in January in the bowl season, I just don't think this era of players loves football like former. I mean, he said it right on the air. How important is that to look for in a football player with the NFL draft kind of in the back of your mind this way?
It's vitally important. To answer your question, Stacey. I mean, and not just to me, but I mean, I've always been a guy that's come up with that love of the game being first and foremost. I mean, that's the thing that fueled me or propelled me into the NFL with the New York Jets, was my love of the Washington Redskins growing up. I mean, my passion for the game is that's what drove me to write a 350-page book and get it self-published and send 3 copies to every team in the NFL as my resume. I mean, I had and have an incredibly high, I'll say the highest level of anybody in the National Football League who's ever worked in it, passion for the game. So, I mean, and that's why when I worked on special teams my 3rd season, special teams is all about heart. It's all about who wants it the most and who's going to, who's the most, it's the most important to, because it shows up on film. I can't tell you how many guys I watch. Parcells called them Jags, just another guy. Okay. And now Parcells is the guy who hired me with the Jets. I can't tell you, right? In scouting, I can't tell you how many guys on film when I watch on Sundays or watch Monday night or Tuesday night or Thursday night football, Wednesday, whatever night it is. I can't tell you how many guys play the game like football is not important to them. Now, I'm not advocating for football to be the most important thing to people in their life, but I will say this. It needs to be extremely important. And a lot of guys you watch in film, they're playing touch tag. Come on. Football's not important to Chase Young in Washington. It's just not. The guy's playing flag football out there last season. He cares more about his hairdo than he does about getting to the quarterback, okay? That's a classic example. I have a feeling this is going to be a soundbite. But
I think Dexter Manley needs to, Charles Mann, they need to take Chase under their wing, do some mentoring. Let's not derail the combo. But yeah.
Right. Well, it's more than mentoring. It's called having a heart for the game transplant.
That's the subject. Yeah.
Right. So because these guys get paid millions of dollars. Who cares? And that's the problem with the NFL. It's you get paid the same amount of money, rain or shine. It's a problem really with revenue sharing. Every team in the NFL gets 1/32 part of the pie, rain or shine. You could be 0-6, 17. You can win the Super Bowl. You're getting the same amount of revenue, and that's the way it is for the players. The players are making $30 million a year, whether they win one game, 16 games, 5 games. Who cares? And that's the problem. Is everyone gets paid rain or shine. And that's why when I become an NFL general manager, I'm going to upset the entire power structure, because I'm going to be the first GM in NFL history to be 100% on a 1-year commission deal only. That's basically going to separate who can build a champion, who's just playing around. That's right. And
that's progressive.
Absolutely. And I'll take the worst team in football, and I'll take that 1-year deal, and I will run the table with that 1-year deal. So it's something that the love of the game is critically important. Okay. And we see it time and time again where it's not happening, in scouting. We get so caught up as scouts, right? I'm talking to anyone who scouts in the National Football League right now. We get so caught up in measurements. What's his hand size? How fast is he around these little orange cones in gym shorts? How high can he jump? How many reps? No. How does he play on game film? Let's keep it real. There's more mistakes made between now and the draft than any other time of the year, because we move away from the game film and we move into all this nonsense. And Jared Glanville used to call it the underwear Olympics. Okay. The old coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
I love that quote.
We move into all this nonsense. Okay. That has nothing to do with the love of the game. Listen, I've been told by executive level people in the NFL, basically, people who are familiar with the thinking of the league, that basically if you take the cash out of the NFL, 70% of the people would leave. And it shows on Sunday. It shows who wants it and who doesn't. It shows on the scoreboard. It shows when it's a fourth quarter. It shows when it's game time. It shows when all the marbles are up on the table and the chips are on the table and who wants it and who doesn't. Like there was a commercial, I don't know if you remember, Stacey, a few years ago, that said, the biggest muscle in the body in the NFL is the heart, right? You remember that commercial?
I do.
And it's so true, as having the heart for the game. It's the most important part of a player to me, as far as the components and the elements of a player you look for in scouting. And not only is it to me, but also the man who hired me, Bill Parcells. He pulled me aside one day. I mean, he was a man of few words to me. I was just the intern guy getting chicken wings and going to the airport to pick up players and that kind of thing, right? It's like when Belichick started in Baltimore, he got hot dogs for Ted Marchibroda. I was that guy with the Jets, right?
Nice.
And absolutely. And Parcells walked in. I was sitting all by myself one day, right? This is my book, Whatever It Takes, the scene. Picture this. I'm sitting there myself, 24 years old, having a little something to eat, kind of eating leftovers from the players after they're done with their lunch. Of course, leftovers was like a 5-star meal, right? So the young intern me, comes in there and has a little bite to eat, and I sit down at the table, and in walks Coach Parcells, and there's probably 50 tables in the cafeteria. He picks my table to sit down at, okay, and he sits down.
Nice.
and he looks at me, right? He looks at me in a way only Bill Parcells can, and he says, "If you only do one thing here, learn the critical factors of scouting." And he just sat there and just kind of with that Parcells grin on his face for a minute, and
pass the ketchup. I mean, wow. I mean, he just kind of drops this on you.
And then he got up and walked away. And I'm just like, I just sat there like, okay, what just happened? And the critical factors of scouting, Stacey, are, what I come to learn over the years is 5-6 characteristics, really that are non-negotiable, so to speak, that a player has to have. And one of those critical factors of scouting that was in Bill Parcells, as far as his scouting manual, is football important to him? That's non-negotiable. You got to have guys that football is important to them. Otherwise, you're going to have situations like a Kyler Murray, which we're kind of questioning whether or not, football is important to him. You're going to have situations, that are popping up around the league. Andrew Luck was another situation that we saw where he just bowed out early.
He's very talented, but there was a lot of talk about he could take it or leave it.
And this is why I put a 90%, turn it up, 90% bust rate on Trevor Lawrence, who has made me look like a genius. Thank you, Trevor. Nice shout out from Key West to you tonight, because you were so bold that you came out, Trevor, pre-draft, and you were just proud of the fact that you had everybody who knew you from the time you were a kid tell the world through Sports Illustrated that, hey, my son doesn't really rise or set on football. I could take it or leave it. I'm not award driven. I'm not
trading that pick.
As soon as I heard and I read the article, Stacy, I went ahead and wrote an article for Draft Diamonds and put a 90% bust rate on him, because when you have players where football is not important to them, it's going to be a problem and it's going to pop up. Okay, we're talking about Kyler Murray tonight. I can almost bet that we'll be talking about Trevor Lawrence within a year or two in the same context. Something's going to happen. Who knows what it's going to be? But yeah, football being important to a player, it's absolutely imperative. When I run a team as a GM, it's going to be non-negotiable. And when I sit down and look at these players, here's a classic example quickly. Okay, I'm writing for SI Lions tomorrow. I'm writing up Cincinnati safety Brian Cook. Okay. This is a guy that's coming out, is going in the NFL Combine. This is a guy that's been projected by CBS Sports.com as going number 32 overall, first round to the Lions. And you turn on the film and, he's now on NFL Mock Draft Database.com, they have all the projections of all the people doing this out there. Okay. 17 different projecting sites put Brian Cook between the 4th and 7th round of the draft for a grade. Only CBS Sports put him number 32 in the first round. So I turned on the game film today, right? You talk about a polarizing player. You talk about a dichotomy. I opened up the game film today for hours and I studied. I spent my whole day. I spent hours I'll never get back studying Brian Cook, right?
Oh, no.
Okay, and I looked at him, right? This guy has elite speed, okay? He has playmaking ability, but 80% of the time he plays like a 4th or 7th round draft pick. I know where people are seeing this and how they're seeing it on game film, because he comes up to the pile. He's always around on the screen. He's around the action. He's one of these guys that's kind of hesitant, tentative, reluctant, doesn't really want it. Once in a while he'll blow somebody up, makes a great highlight film. This guy is a highlight reel special, okay? But 80% of the time, he's a little bit late getting over the top. I mean, the Lions have struggled with this. The Lions have had players like this throughout their team that are good enough to collect a paycheck, but not good enough to win. And this is why, because they basically are guys that have the ability, they have the speed, they can run through all the drills, they can do all this kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, they don't want it, and it shows on Sundays.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I mean, to me, it hits at the core of so much of what happens in the draft and these busts. And I too was
a big reason why.
So concerned with the Trevor Lawrence news. I would have been out on that in a heartbeat.
He was off my board.
Gone.
My big board.
I would have traded the
gone. I mean, for someone to be that arrogant, most of the time NFL teams have to do an investigative work to figure out this type of information, that football is important or not important, or maybe they talk to a high school coach to reveal some kind of secret information nobody knows. But Trevor Lawrence said, hey, he was bold enough just to say, I'm going to proclaim it to the world in SI.
Yeah, well, what does it
Jacksonville
matter?
was just unbelievable. Yeah. And what do we see?
Jacksonville.
And what do we see as a result? We're looking at it live.
Yep. Doug Peterson gets to inherit that now. And that's probably going to be Lawrence's last shot. I know that sounds bold, but that's going to be his real shot. A quarterback-friendly, offensive-minded guy, getting some out of him like he did Carson Wentz. It's such a fascinating subject. I remember when Jordan Cameron, the tight end, played for the Dolphins, the Browns. There might have been another team in there. When he retired in 2017, he flat out came out and he goes, I know what I'm about to say is going to be controversial, but I'm just going to tell you guys, the vast majority of players in this league don't even like football. They don't even like playing the game.
I've heard that from executive level
Fascinating.
people.
Yeah,
I've heard that. And it
There was a
shows. It shows.
It shows. It shows on most teams, and it's why
Right.
guys like Tom Brady come into an organization like Tampa and say, "Get on board or you're out."
Darn right.
And it takes, the Patriot way, which has come under a lot of scrutiny, but developed and gone to, 10 Super Bowls. I mean, on and on that story goes. That love of the game is so important. The only player
Yeah.
that I can even bring to mind that blatantly came out and said, I didn't really like the game that much, is in the Hall of Fame. Curtis Martin, running back, incredible football player, but he's very open about, I never really loved football. It was a business to me. I like working hard. Whatever my craft is, I'm going to perfect. He is an absolute anomaly. If you don't love this game and you're getting hit in the mouth, 50 times a game, you're not going to hang around very long.
No.
You're just not going
No.
to hang around very long. So,
No.
as a preview for those listening or watching on the Dirty Pocket, next week, I'm going to drop this on the scout without even telling him. We're going to talk about this quarterback class coming in. I know you've been watching film almost around the clock.
Just about, yeah.
So that's a teaser. I'm not going to say anything more on that. But next week, college quarterbacks, NFL draft, the Super Bowl will be over, and we'll dive into that.
Do you maybe we can talk about something other than the Rams going forward?
I'm sorry, did you bring up the Rams? Let's start there as we close the show.
Oh, nice. Do I know you or do I know you?
Well stated. Good segue.
Hey.
Let's transition into this game we have Sunday. And I'm just going to ask you before I ask you anything else, are you more excited for the game or the halftime show?
The game.
Okay.
Yeah, here's the thing about halftime shows.
That halftime show is getting a lot of play, man. It's going to have a lot of views.
Check this out. You want to hear something controversial? Check this out, right? Okay. You're looking at a guy on your screen there wearing that Jets hat, right? You're looking at a guy that has not watched the halftime show probably for 30 years. Okay.
Good grief. You missed Prince?
I didn't see any of that. I haven't watched any of the Super Bowl commercials. I detest the commercialism of the game, and I will not partake in any of it. So I'll get up out of the room and I'll walk away. If there's any kind of commercial, I just want to see the game itself, not the pomp and circumstances. So yeah, no, the game itself, yeah, I'll watch the game, but I'm not there to just, watch the commercials or see the halftime show. Not at all. That's all the money around the game, and really and truly, the money is a problem in the game.
Yeah, boy, you got a soapbox there. We're not going to go there tonight, but boy, is that a conversation, particularly on a day when we just had a very fascinating Roger Goodell press conference earlier in the day today. Let's talk about the game itself. It so happens an amazing team from Los Angeles is in this game, my Los Angeles Rams.
I thought you were going to say another team.
No, I think the Bengals are playing too. As we look at this game, and let's be honest, there are so many great storylines in this game between
the first one is
teams.
you. The first one is you and how you've stuck with this team all these years.
Yeah, well, that's there's no question. There's a lot of
to
talk about right there. Oh yeah, passion. Yeah. Love my guys. Yeah. Love my team. As you look at the Super Bowl, speaking strictly of the game we love, what do you see transpiring? What are your predictions on maybe a score, a winner, an MVP?
Well, last time you accused me of trying to piss you off, so
I don't. You can piss me off all you want. The Rams are winning the Super Bowl, so go ahead.
Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals.
I knew you were going to say that.
Joe Burrow, Super Bowl MVP.
You did. Joe Burrow, Joe Cool finds a way to beat the Rams in their stadium on the world's biggest stage. Is this a Joe Namath thing?
Yeah, to bring. I'm getting the chills. I mean, to bring Cincinnati their first.
That's remarkable. Yeah,
the first Super Bowl trophy. And here's the thing I love most about this story is if the Bengals. I'm sorry because I know how much you love the Rams, but if the Bengals, the fact you can even laugh about this tells us a lot about your character.
We're winning,
which is great. But check this out, okay? Even the fact the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. I do not want to hear any more nonsense about this. We're in a rebuild, and it's 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and we're in a rebuild. And it's a constant excuses that fan bases accept. Look at Cincinnati, 2 years from worst to the Super Bowl. Okay, it does not take that long. When I say I can step into the worst team in football and win the Super Bowl next year, That's a reality, because that's the type of thing that Bill Parcells used to do. Boom, 1 year turnaround. You take over the worst team next year, like with the Jets, AFC title game the following year. There's other situations. Look at what Bruce Arians did in Tampa Bay. They were not a winner when they came down there with Tom Brady, right? They came off a couple losing seasons, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom, they're all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl too. So, but the Bengals, I mean, that's what I love most about their story, is going from worst to the Super Bowl in 2 years and putting that we're in a rebuild to bed forever.
Yeah, look, the NFL, for all of its faults, and there are many, a lot of them coming out in the news these last 2 weeks, it's incredible. Every team has a chance, always. That's a great comment. The Bengals 2 years ago were literally the worst team in the National Football League 32 games ago, folks.
Yeah.
They were the worst. If you're a Lions fan right now,
There's hope.
or you're a Browns fan, come on, believe. If you could get the parts around you and you get that dynamic quarterback, especially, there's hope. Okay, so you're picking the Bengals. You're picking Joe Burrow score. Wild shot in the dark.
37-34.
Ooh, high scoring game. Okay, not a lot of defense. Not a lot of defense. Any wild predictions on the game itself? Any special plays? I mean, Super Bowls always give us some iconic, the head catch, David Tyree, Ben Roethlisberger finding Santonio Holmes in the corner. Anything you expect to see in this game?
Maybe Icky Woods doing the Icky shuffle in the.
Oh man!
No, but seriously, because he came out, he presented the trophy, of course, when they won the AFC championship game. I think that I just get the feeling that if I was at a game show and you asked me a question, I think we're going to see some trickery from Cincinnati. I think
I can see that.
I think we're going to see some trickery. You remember when like what was it, Sean Payton with the Saints when they were playing the Colts? So he came out with that onside kick that nobody was expecting. I think we're going to see something, or going back to Super Bowl 22, going way back. With the Redskins beating Denver that game 42-10, January 31st, 1988. Not that I remember the game, Jack Murphy Stadium. It was a great game. Doug Williams. Okay, I'll stop. But Samantha calls me Rain Man when it comes to football knowledge. But in that game, they did a throwback pass from, I think it was Sewell, the running back, to John Elway down the field. So it's going to be something along those lines. I feel like there's going to be some trickery. Okay.
Prediction from the scout. Going heavy with the Bengals. I, of course, am going with the other team that is going to win the Super Bowl. Yes, my Los Angeles Rams. I think that they win this game 38-17. I think that the most valuable player in this game solidifies himself in the conversation with Lawrence Taylor as the greatest defensive player to ever see the game. Number 99, Aaron Donald. I think he scores a touchdown in this game. And I think the Rams roll. And I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. And there are so many storylines, but I fully expect to see Sean McVay in my blue and yellow holding that Lombardi up on Sunday night, folks.
You haven't been too high on McVay either. That's interesting. All of a sudden,
I can be critical, but let me tell you something. And we do this on the Dirty Pocket. McVay and Raheem Morris on the defensive side of the ball have made some really significant adjustments and showed a tremendous amount of maturity the last 4 to 5 weeks. In the middle of the season, I was critical. All the empty sets, the running game disappearing. Over the last 4 to 5 games, you've seen something different out of this team that I think really comes to fruition on Sunday night. And that's why I love Sean McVay. We're lucky to have him. I was a Rams fan since I was 10 years old in the 70s, and I've suffered through lots of misery. But I just want to see him. We get Darrell Henderson back Sunday night too, so we're gonna have a 3-pronged attack: Cam Akers, Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson. I agree with you. I like that trickery angle. Remember, Zach Taylor, head coach of the Bengals, was the Rams offensive coordinator under Sean McVay and was the coordinator in our last Super Bowl that we lost to the Patriots.
Interesting.
So,
this
lots of storylines.
This just in. And let me say this. Is that if Stafford wins, right, as they say in social media, that's not going to be a good look for the Lions.
It sure
right?
isn't. And
I mean, you're
poor
trading,
Lions fans.
you trade Stafford, and you get the last pick in exchange in the draft in the first round of 32. If your Rams do win, that's just not a good look. You never want to trade a player from your team that takes another organization and city to the show.
Yeah, look, I bleed for the Lions fans. I think Stafford's done a great job of navigating that conversation because 13 years, he's fond of the
Him
city.
or his wife?
Both of them. Both of them. They've been through some stuff.
Kelly's pretty controversial. She can get out there. She get out there. She get out there and say something.
She's got her man's back. I'm sure your wife Samantha would attest to that too. She's got her man's back. It's bigger than the game for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And ask her if she's happier living in LA than in a snowbank.
Yeah, I think the tan and the smile says it all.
It really does. A picture's worth 1,000 words, as they say. Yeah, absolutely.
But I watch the Lions every Sunday. They're my morning go-to team to watch. I know that you cover them. I like to watch and see what you see. And I'm rooting for those folks. You can do it. I love your point.
Absolutely.
You can do it.
You can do it. That's the thing. Is you hit on earlier, Stacey, is you got to believe. And that's the number one critical factor I have of scouting is you got to believe, because that's how you make it, is by believing.
Can't underestimate that. So on that note, I got to get the scout Kelly into some sleepy time. This man has been crunching tape around the tape. You're all over the interwebs on interviews for Sports Illustrated with some of the college prospects in the first round.
First rounders, blue chip guys I'm talking to.
Love it. So if you haven't caught those interviews, folks, as we close this week on the Dirty Pocket, go check out what Daniel Kelly is doing for Sports Illustrated Lions, Sports Illustrated Jets. He's interviewing a couple of very high picks, potential first 20 picks in the draft this week. One in the can, another one coming on Friday. You can catch him on Draft Fuel as well as a new writer over there. Myself, find me on gridironicon.com or the Gridiron Icon podcast. We just had a great interview with Rich Hammond of The Athletic last night. And you will find me celebrating on Sunday night, Scout, as my Rams win Super Bowl 56.
Well, you're going to find me spend that $5 I won from Samantha. That's what you're going to find me doing. Probably buying something at the store or something to watch the Super Bowl. Maybe buying maybe another 6-pack of Fanta. Who knows?
There you go. Call us, guys. Well, thank you to all our listeners. Follow us on the Dirty Pocket at the Dirty Pocket on Instagram, Dirty Pocket Pod on Facebook, and Dirty Pocket Pod on Twitter. I mentioned where you can find the scout. And folks, we will see you next week. My friend, enjoy the Rams victory.
You too. And enjoy making those sound bites I gave you tonight.
Coming shortly.
Hey, thanks. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody.